And when strangers come into these parts, they go into a kind of trance state. They hear voices.
Everyone loves a good story.
He was aptly named Crane, Ichabod Crane.
Washington Irving, a popular storyteller, was born in New York City in 1783. He became a literary idol. Irving is considered the first American to earn a living just from writing. His tales Rip Van Winkle and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow have been called the first American short stories. And these stories are still popular with readers today. When Irving was born on April 3, 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearing its end. He was named after war hero and first American president, George Washington. As a child, Irving loved reading. Later, he studied law and traveled throughout Europe. For fun, he wrote articles for newspapers and journals. But when he returned home to New York, he began combining fact and fiction, history and fantasy, and European and American culture to create his own style of storytelling. In 1809, Irving wrote A History of New York under the pen name Dietrich Knickerbocker. A pen name is a name an author uses instead of his or her real name. The book made fun of the lives of Manhattan's early Dutch settlers. It was very popular. The term Knickerbocker came to mean someone from New York, and it's how the professional basketball team, the New York Knicks, got its name. But Irving's most famous work is a collection of stories called The Sketchbook, which was published in 1820. It features the short stories The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle. Both were based on German folk tales. Irving Americanized the tales and set them in New York. The fictional town of Sleepy Hollow is based on an area near Tarrytown in the lower Hudson Valley.
From the listless repose of the place and the peculiar character of its inhabitants who are descendants from the original Dutch settlers, this sequestered glen has long been known by the name of Sleepy Hollow.
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is about school teacher Ichabod Crane.
He was tall, but exceedingly lank, with narrow shoulders, long arms and legs, hands that dangled a mile out of his sleeves, feet that might have served for shovels, and his whole frame most loosely hung together.
New to town, Crane meets many interesting characters and falls in love with young Katrina Van Tassel, the only child of a wealthy Dutch farmer. But Katrina has a suitor, a man who wants to marry her. His name is Brom von Brunt, and he's the town bully. His nickname is Brom Bones. To scare Crane away, Brom Bones tells him about the ghost of a headless horseman that haunts Sleepy Hollow.
The dominant spirit, however, that haunts this enchanted region and seems to be commander-in-chief of all the powers of the air is the apparition of a figure on horseback without a head.
Crane meets the ghost one evening riding home from a party. Carrying his head in one hand, the headless horseman rides up and throws it at Crane. After the encounter, Crane disappears and the townsfolk are left wondering what happened to him. Was he killed? Did he run away because he was afraid of Sleepy Hollow and Brom Bones? Irving ends The Legend of Sleepy Hollow with this mystery, a mystery that continues to delight and entertain readers to this day. Irving made the short story popular in America, and his unique style influenced many other famous writers. He made Sunnyside Estate in Tarrytown, New York, his permanent home. Because he was an international star, he often entertained important artists, writers, and politicians at the estate. He died at Sunnyside surrounded by his family on November 28, 1859. He was 76 years old. Sunnyside has been restored to how it looked in the 1850s and is now part of the Hudson Valley National Heritage Area. Visitors can see Irving's study and writing desk and walk through the gardens. They can also find Irving's grave in the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery at the Old Dutch Church in Sleepy Hollow, New York.